Hello everyone. My name is Rachel from Wild Heart Farm in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, and I'm hosting this event tonight with my colleague Janine Cava from the New Jersey Food Democracy Collaborative. Tonight we have Nolan Lewin from the Rutgers Food Innovation Center, which is a food business incubator that we are very excited to learn more about. And just wanted to mention that this event is part of a larger speaker series hosted by the South Jersey Farmers Equity and Sustainability Team, which is also called SJ Feast. The project is led by the Pinelands Preservation Alliance, who Carlton and Jonathan are here tonight from, and with support from the New Jersey Food Democracy Collaborative, Janine, and myself. And the goal of that project is really to support a growing group of South Jersey farmers, determine what sort of food farmer-led cooperative or collective that they'd like to form and what model that they'd like to replicate. So this conversation tonight will guide those strategic planning conversations. And yeah, so basically the agenda tonight is Nolan will kind of lead presenting. And of course, you can hop in and ask questions, but we'll have lots of time afterwards as well. So, Nolan, we'll pass it off to you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys. For those of you who don't know what the Food Innovation Center is, a little bit of background. We are part of Rutgers University, the State University of New Jersey. We actually belong to the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences, so very much part of the agricultural scene in New Jersey. As a matter of fact, we're part of the New Jersey Agricultural Experimentation Group. And for those of you who know about land grant universities, we were basically ordered to create these research facilities throughout the state of New Jersey in exchange for having the property that the university was built on back in 1863. So the Food Innovation Center in Bridgeton, New Jersey, has been open since 2001, and the building itself was built in 2008, 2009. We're a food incubation commercialization facility. What does that mean? Um, Essentially, we were designed to help the agricultural community in South Jersey, the Garden State, because in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, when this part of the state of New Jersey was booming, we really were the Garden State. We fed most of the Mid-Atlantic region. Bridgeton is a port city on the Cohansey River near the Delaware Bay. So barges were loaded with baskets from the truck farms, tomatoes, eggplant, spinach, peppers, and floated up to Philadelphia, up to New York, down to Washington, D.C. And with the advent of the interstate systems, a lot of the farms fell under harm's way. And unfortunately, a lot of the farmers lost their farms. So the fact that the Food Innovation Center was designed to help with value-added production, you guys, I'm sure, understand the value of selling a bushel of soybean for $7 or $8 versus turning it into a product that sells for much more than that. But so that was while that was one of the primary goals, we were also charged with helping in other facets of food and beverage manufacturing, and that includes food safety and food defense programs, demonstrating what proper USDA and FDA requirements look like. As a matter of fact, we're one of the most unique food innovation centers in the country, in the world actually, because we have dual jurisdiction. We have the ability to manufacture under both USDA and FDA guidance, which is really exceptional. Not many other places have that capability. So we're not just a pilot plant where we make a couple of bottles or a couple packages. We can make full-fledged uh, products. And I have right in my hand here a sample of a product that we make. And if you notice, it's Rutgers branded. But this is made from Rutgers grown products from the Rutgers farms, as well as my own beehives. Um, and We specialize in acidified, high acid food. What is that? It's pretty much any shelf-stable item that has a pH, a high pH, which is considered 4.2 or lower number is a higher pH. And we uh, also offer services that include sensory competitive analysis. So if you want to see how your product might do in the market, you're not sure exactly, what market it might fit in. We can help by doing small groups, focus groups, doing those kind of research projects, marketing projects. We also have a SQF practitioner who teaches courses, all the food safety courses, including all the FSMA regulations, such as PCQI for qualified individual, um, um, some of the intentional adulteration courses. We also teach cottage law. So if you have a farmer who's looking to do, or a farmer who wants to do products not only on your farm, but maybe even out of your house, we can help with understanding what those rules and regulations are. We do serve safe training. So we're kind of a all in one shopping, all in one place opportunity to give people a better understanding of what food safety looks like. Our facility itself in Bridgeton is a 23,000 square foot food plant, essentially. We have four bays. The first bay, as I mentioned, is acidified food, high acid food products that we make, and that could be teas, jellies, jams, sauces, barbecue sauce, hot sauce, um, almost anything that has that pH range. And we also work on a few other products too. We have worked on um, burritos, we've worked on meatballs, we've worked on non-alcoholic beverages, we've worked on pet food. So anything that's basically human grade or GRAS approved, generally regarded as safe by the FDA, is something that we can look at. Um, we work very closely with a lot of the government agencies in New Jersey, including New Jersey EDA, Latin American EDA, based out of Camden, New Jersey. We deal with Choose New Jersey, CSIT. They offer grant programs for people who want to do research work in food development, food research. As a matter of fact, the program now still has some grant money left. It's free money, up to $40,000 if you want to work on a project or develop a food project that fits within the criteria. I recommend that you go to the website to take a look at that. Um, and then I'm going to just pause for a second and let you guys ask some questions.
Yeah, really appreciate that. It was a like I you're doing a lot of work. I'm curious, how like are there requirements for um how much of a product's ingredients have to come from New Jersey, or like what's the kind of makeup of how much product is actually coming from New Jersey?
So technically, it can be zero. We don't work under those guidelines. It's really more about economic growth and development. We're part of the university that encourages that through job creation and wealth building. So creating, maybe you'll do some research and build a factory here, and then you're now contributing to the economy in New Jersey or the metro area.
Okay. Any other?
So just to give you some background too, our most famous client that we ever had, and probably you guys recognize the name Impossible Foods, started with us in 2015.
Wow.
They came in, they had already raised about $200 million in funds.
Wow.
They had developed their formula for their vegetable-based burger that bleeds. And we helped them commercialize and get into food service. Um, they they needed someone who had some expertise in manufacturing and packaging. So we had the ability to test different pieces of equipment with them in our facility. We work very closely with all the clients on all the projects. No one can really call us up and say, hey, I need you to make this for me. It needs to come from the owner of the business or a representative who is actually in the facility working with us.
So,
Yes, and they never gave us credit. You're right.
I think it has to do with proprietary. They were concerned that you guys would somehow get bribed to give away their secrets to other industries. I think that's what I heard from Melanie O'Neill when I was down there.
Well, it was a little bit more than that. They had actually reached out to us to help them further, after they left us after a year and a half of manufacturing. They'd want us to be like kind of their East Coast distributor, and that's not what we're built for. We're really more in tune. Once you launch, unless there's more innovation work to do, we really can't do much more than that. So.
hmm.
But if you do talk to the original owners, Pat Brown and his partner, they will acknowledge that they were at Rutgers.
Well, I guess a quick follow-up question to that point. Do you have like relationships with distribution, like local distribution companies, and like can you point people to where to go depending on what their scale is?
Yeah, so we have a relationship. We are connectors. We're really designed to help people find whatever they're looking for. There's no guarantees, but we know the buyers and the brokers for a lot of the retailers in New Jersey. So we know the buyer for Whole Foods. We know the buyers for several of the ShopRite, Wakefern brands. I'm personal friends with Ron Murphy from Murphy's Markets in Medford and Long Beach Island. Um, we know different distributors, different people that might be brokers who will help with selling the product. Brokers come with a fee. I'm sure you guys probably know that. But it can be a great resource if you have a product, a brand that is really ready to launch on a larger scale. Most of the clients that we work with start out in farmers markets, local small venues, craft fairs, things like that. And they're usually making 20, 30, 50 jars, packages, whatever at a time. So very small scale, but a good way to get really good feedback from customers, clientele, and then potentially have the opportunity to expand and grow. A lot of calls that we get to the center ask us to co-pack. And when we ask them how much volume they're doing, because we don't really co-pack, as I said, but they're not doing a lot. They're doing maybe 100 pounds of product every month or every couple of weeks. And not to diminish that, but that's just very small scale. And no co-packer is going to want to make 100 or 500 pounds of product. They want to make a day's run because by the time they take apart their machines and clean and change over labels and jars and all the other components of running this product, um, they want to make it worth their while. But there are, yes, there are some co-packers who will do small scale, and by all means, I'm happy to point people to them. I've not heard of what was the name of that one? Cotty
Uh,
Winkle?
Toddy.
Cottywample. Yeah, a lot of South Jersey and even Central Jersey small producers use them. We hosted them in this forum a few weeks ago. They
Okay,
do
We use
super.
them with Red Cocos Creek Farm, and they're in Pennsylvania. There's nobody in New Jersey doing that.
okay,
Yeah, I
so
think it's Lancaster County,
yeah,
Gap,
yep,
Yeah, and
PA.
I think that's one of the things that some of the farmers in this South Jersey Feast group have said they love Cottywample, but they wish there was something like them um, closer. And so, NOFA New Jersey is in the process of opening their farmers process kitchen, commercial kitchen, but it's not the same thing because that the farmer would need to come in and do it and process themselves, whereas Cottywample, they're you drop off their product, the product, they work with you to develop the recipe, and then they just tell you when to come pick it up.
right.
Um,
So,
they do the labeling, all of that.
right. So, what's the difference between that and what we do? Right. That's the question.
Scale, I think scale and location and some
Well,
other, yeah.
well, that of course, but the fact is that if I go to a co-packer and say, "Here's my recipe, make it. I want you to do it. This is the recipe." you lose control over what they do or don't do. And I'm not saying they don't do a good job. There's plenty of people who do exactly the right thing. But when you're in the space and you actually see, and there's a lot of people who have recipes that are very finicky, for lack of a better word. They have to bloom the herbs and wait till the bubbles are half inch tall or whatever. Um, Co-packers will make whatever you tell them to make. That's your recipe, and that's it. A lot of the times, I would say more than 50% of the time, we find problems with recipes and we help them sort it out, or we give them recommendations on how to um, better the recipe. A lot of people who go into food and beverage, the failure rate is actually like 80 or 90%.
Yeah.
And not because it's not a good product. Maybe there's something wrong with the label or the packaging or something like that. We take a look at it from that perspective. It's not just giving you your stuff in a jar and saying, here you go, pick up your 50 cases or 100 cases. We're going to look at it and say, what would be better if you did here, and make those recommendations too.
And
I have the follow-up question. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
we might be asking the same question. So you go first.
Well, we last year, I can show this over a year and a half ago now, actually, we, for the Department of Agriculture, led this process and then produced a report that was a baseline assessment of a term that USDA used to use, and it was USDA funded, called socially disadvantaged producers. So
Mhm.
baseline assessment of socially disadvantaged producers in New Jersey, and I'm sure you're familiar with the term, so you know what kind of like what it includes. Um, and we asked in our interview questions, and we did focus groups, but we asked a little bit about knowledge and awareness of different types of assistance and supports, everything from cooperative extension to craft and county boards of ag. And we talked about knowledge of value added products and co-packing and all of that. And so I guess that my question is like sort of in that context of, or reminding me of the conversations, like what, if you could walk us through like, or give us examples of like situations or growers or recipes or whatever, like circumstances where it's not a match. Like someone comes to you and they say, I want to work with you to do XYZ, and you have a conversation and you're kind of like, this is not a match for this particular facility or whatever.
Yeah.
What would be examples of those?
I knew we were thinking that was going to be my question is like, what are some of your guidance when they're too small or for whatever reason, as Janine
Like
said?
eligibility,
Yeah.
or not, that's not really the right word I'm looking for, but you kind of
Yeah.
get, Rachel, it's
So,
really a mind meld all the time.
so our mission statement is to help, companies of every size, obviously, but another advantage is that we have no minimums. If you come in and you say, I just want to develop the formula for this product and I want to go someplace else with it, we can do that. We're fee for service. We do charge for our services. We're very competitively priced compared to a lot of the co-packers. I know the person who used to run Lancaster Fine Foods, and I know what he used to charge a day to run product there. But essentially, we don't have a minimum, no minimums at all. If you want to run 50 jars, we'll run 50. If you want to run 500, we'll try and run 500. If we have the capability of doing it in-house, again, acidified food, glass jars, PET bottles, plastic bottles, um, we'll run it. But if you come in and say, hey, Nolan, you know what I'd like to do is have a protein bar that's filled with peanut butter and jelly. I don't have a machine that'll do that. We have kettles, we have mixers, we have a bottling line, we have some vacuum packing machines, we have ovens. So we can do some basic things. We can't high speed line a lot of things. Some things, if you just want to work on formulation, we'll make the prototype by hand the way that you would make it in your kitchen or in a commercial kitchen, but it'll be ready to go scale. So you can actually take it to a developer or someone else who might have that capability, who does protein bars or something like that, and have it ready to go. But there's no exclusions. We don't say we're not looking at, everything in this category. That's not true. We don't do infant formula because the university doesn't want to take on the liability for having that.
Mm.
We've
potential.
heard that from a couple of people. I don't know if it was in these sessions, but who was it? There was somebody else who was saying that you can't do. I think it was Devin, maybe at the anyway, someone else was saying recently that baby food is like this whole other can of
Right,
worms. Yeah.
right.
Melanie has her hand up. Hey, Melanie.
Hi, I was wondering, do you guys work with the cottage program? Because I know in other states there's certain recipe books. So like buttercream is like very TCS or non-TCS. I don't know what the term is, but other states have developed recipes that they've been proven like safe, and then they include that in the recipe book. And then if you wanted to do like a buttercream, you would just have to follow this recipe. Is that something that you guys do?
So we don't have the recipe book, but Melanie O'Neill, who is the person who handles the cottage law, trainings and so forth, is very well versed. And I think there's a group, a bakers group based down the Jersey Shore that may put that book together or that have that list together of options that you can use.
Oh,
So
good. Okay.
I'm happy to share her email uh,
Yeah.
with you guys as well. I can send that off to you with her contact information.
Yeah, that would be really helpful because I
Yeah,
know other states do that, and it's like so beneficial for farmers to have just exactly what the recipe is that's approved so that they can, sell their products that are in accordance with the law. It takes out a lot of time for them, like a lot of trial and error.
right. And to your point, the TCS temperature control really is the main factor. If it's a product that has to be refrigerated, it's usually not allowed anywhere unless they do something to it to make it stable shape, safe.
Um, I, I think it'd be really helpful if you could walk us through what a kind of prototypical process would be for someone who first comes to you, like say a farmer comes to you, said, I've got this recipe for let's assume it's one of these high acid sauce or pickling recipe that I want to brand and and sell. How would things unfold, assuming things go well, and what kind of timeline would be expected or typical?
It's a great question. Well, let me just start out by saying I have a pretty small staff. I've got 7 full-timers and 5 part-timers that are available to me. Generally, we work on several projects at a time because we're just trying to cover as much ground as we can. We don't do any advertising at all. Everything that we get is word of mouth or referrals, or we find through meetings like this or shows or conventions. That's typically how people find out about us. And generally, it starts out with a phone call. Our website is a pretty good source of information. It gives a lot of detail about what we have in terms of equipment, the different trainings that I mentioned before. And then there's an application. It's actually been recently updated with some AI in it to help us uh, dive a little deeper into the specifics of what clients are looking for. Sometimes the clients don't know what they're looking for. They just, they know they need help, but they're not sure. But that initial application to us gives us some idea on what we can talk to you about if you're the client, and we'll set up a phone call, a half hour, 45-minute phone call, no charge. And we'll talk about the specifics of what your process is, what your ingredients are, what you have. If you're a farmer and you've got tomatoes that need to be made into a tomato sauce or things like that, we can discuss what's involved there. Um, if that, then we go through, whatever the costing is. And right now we have a flat rate of, I'm sorry, an hourly rate of $250 an hour to do R&D work, development work for regular commercialization. The farmers that we deal with typically get a discount off of that rate because of the number of different factors, but I have the ability to adjust the price based on the volume, if it's a small amount, if it's something that's a one-time, one-off thing. versus something that's being done on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis. I have a beach plum farmer down in Cape May who only does production once a year. So, we kind of grandfathered in the lesser rates for her capabilities. But anyway, as far as doing a recipe development, people will come in, they'll say, okay, I've got the recipe. It's a half a teaspoon of this and a quarter teaspoon of something else. And we convert that into a gram scale weight recipe in our lab. So you would actually come in, work in our kitchen, our test kitchen, and we'll watch you do your recipe and then convert that to the grams, which convert into a percentage. That makes it scalable. After we do the stovetop version in our test kitchen, then we move out into the production room. We have a small test kettle that holds 35 gallons of product. We also do that by hand. We mix it. We do whatever we have to do to it with a mixer, a heated kettle, steam kettle, swept surface agitation, so we have it spinning. And then we'll hand fill that into jars or pouches or bags or whatever it is that you want to do that. We'll make sure that the nutritional label is correct. We'll make sure that the label is approved by the FDA or USDA. And you take that product and you go sell it. If you do well and you want to come back and make larger batches, we have the ability to scale up. We do two 90-gallon kettles, for one at a time or two if you need it. And we also have one large kettle that's 180 gallons. So a total of about 450 gallons a day production is what we're capable of, which will produce a couple, 4, 5, 6,000 bottles in a typical day. We fill the gap between a commercialization, a commercial kitchen, and a larger co-packer, co-manufacturer type of facility. The cost for going to that larger scale is around $1,500 for a full day in the production room. And that covers the use of the equipment, our bottling line, which is a $500,000 bottling line, the person to run the line, a quality person to ensure that it's being filled properly, measured, temperature-wise, weights, and so forth. The only additional costs would be, depending on how much production there would be a labor component, and that could be the farmer or the farmer's people or family if they want to bring those people in and help package and put things in bottles and cases and tape it up and so forth.
So with that hourly rate of like 250 and then the activities you just described of recipe development, producing, packaging, like is that like one day or how long do those activities take?
It depends on the formula. So if it's a tomato sauce, we know how to do that pretty easily, hot sauce, things like that. And that's typically a day. So, a 4, 5, 6 hour day could be, $1,000, $1,200. But you walk out of there with a recipe and potentially a nutritional label that you can use for your manufacturing. It really depends on the person's product. We have people who come in who have very technical processes that they're trying to figure out using thickeners and emulsifiers and gums. And those are very tricky. When you start adding those types of products to food, it can make a big difference in the quality and consistency of the product. Next week, we have a client that's coming in that's working on a cellular-based tuna made from living tuna cells. They're growing tuna cells in a bioreactor, but they're forming it with agar and a bunch of other thickeners to create this sushi type of a format in a tray that they would slice and then use as sushi, sashimi type product. Very technical. We're trying to figure out the right thickness, the viscosity, how to make it flow, how to make it taste actually like real tuna without overbearing with the agar and the other thickeners. That's not going to take a day. That's going to take weeks, maybe more.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I would assume your team is passionate about problem solving, things like that.
If you're not, you'd be very frustrated every day. So, and there's days that we think it's going to be easier than it really is, and it's a little frustrating because we thought we had the solution.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just takes a little bit more time. Sometimes there's been a few occasions where we couldn't figure it out, and it was the holy grail. People were trying to find something that just, it wasn't readily makeable. Is that a word?
Yeah.
So for a client who wants to get some advice on the recipe, some testing, some advice on the marketing and so on, as well as getting into the kitchen and producing it and seeing how the process works to scale up. What kind of time frame should somebody thinking about? Are we talking like 6 months, a year, 3 months? I have no idea what that time frame would be.
So, as I mentioned, we have several clients at a time that we work on. Thank goodness we're busy. We're typically backed up in the test kitchen about a month to 2 months, depending on how technical some of the client projects are. But normally, I would say from very early stage to actually manufacturing hundreds of products, that's usually done in under 4 to 5 months.
Okay. That's pretty quick. That's good.
Yep.
Um, Thinking about what you mentioned earlier, you didn't use the term market analysis, but if someone comes in and they want to do something and do you help them kind of look at who else in the region or in their market that they want to sell this in or where they're located is already offering that, and whether it's because that because they're doing it through um, the Food Innovation Center, or you help them kind of go beyond that and look at the market more broadly. Is that part of what they're getting at their hourly rate, or is that extra if they
So
wanted that?
there is a separate program that we do the marketing analysis, competitive analysis projects. It's the same hourly rate, but we put together a package and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. I have a person. I don't know if you guys know Joyce Friedberg. She's on our marketing team. She's former Campbell's person. Really outstanding marketing person who's done many of these types of analysis with our clients. You guys watch Shark Tank, right?
Well, I don't watch it, but I've heard of it.
You've heard of it. Okay.
Yeah.
So about 2 weeks ago, there was a client on there, a client of ours on there, Steve Longo, who makes a product called Orca Bar, ORKA. And it's an egg meringue based high protein ice cream, like an Eskimo pie kind of a thing, but made from different ingredients. And he was on Shark Tank, and he got a deal for $100,000 with Lori Grenier. And we've had several clients actually go on to Shark Tank and get deals, through that program. And they're not selling, millions of dollars worth of product. They're selling, $5,000, $10,000 worth of product a month, something like that. So it's not really just the big guys that are doing it, but we help them figure out by doing a competitive analysis against other ice cream brands. We don't manufacture ice cream. We don't have that capability, but we helped him figure out what he should do to make his product better and more competitive. So we did that study with him. I guess it was probably about a year ago or 10 months ago. And he was able to make those adjustments and changes to his recipe based on what we found in the competitors' nutritional panels, flavor profile. And oh, by the way, the people who are on this panel are my team, mostly myself and my five other tasters. we're also the judges for the Specialty Food Association. We taste over 1,500 items um, within a 6-week period every year to determine the top category winners in 25 categories of food. So we're pretty dialed in terms of sensory and what works and what doesn't work. Not in everything, but especially in specialty style foods, we're pretty good at doing that.
That's really cool. I know you mentioned that there isn't a requirement to have local ingredients, but I'm just curious, like how much of maybe on an annual basis or historically, how many of your clients are New Jersey natives? And is there any focus that you guys have in the future for more local, or what's kind of prevented that?
So there's nothing preventing it. We do reach out to the local farming community, local growers and producers. Most of the people down in South Jersey kind of know that we exist at this stage, and we've dealt with, I'm going to say, probably 20 or 30 farmers over the past 10 years or so. Uh, Cherry Hill Lane tomato growers. We've done with Circle M Peach Farm. We've done with the blueberry growers. We've worked with several of them. I mentioned the farmer down in Cape May who does the Aronia and beach plum products. So we do work with them. We also work pretty closely with the Rutgers farm in New Brunswick, as well as the research farms around the state, including Snyder Farms that does tomato research and hazelnut program. I don't know if you guys know that Jersey now has this really robust hazelnut growing agenda to bring hazelnuts back to New Jersey. They lost it to a disease, and Rutgers was able to breed this new variety of hazelnuts that does really well in New Jersey. Um, some of the Rutgers professors have also helped with replenishing the basil crops that are grown in New Jersey because that was lost to a disease called dewy mildew, I think it's called. And Dr. Jim Simon had a 4-year project. If you guys want to write this down too, it's a documentary that he did called Fields of Devotion. It's a half-hour documentary that won an award, but it talks about how they helped basically bring back the basil crops to New Jersey that were being devastated by this disease. So we love farmers. We love Jersey farmers.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Do you have a couple of examples of farmers that have had some success working through developing a product that you would kind of highlight and point to as success stories that might inspire us?
Yeah, so the blueberry farmers are probably the most successful. We've been able to develop different types of compotes and preserves, jellies and jams. Um, I'm trying to think of the name of the farmers that we did, but they're some of the larger growers in Hamilton in that area.
And
Uh,
is there like a branded name that they adopted for this, or is it a variety of things they're doing?
Some of them did it under their own name. There's one client that we work with out of Atlantic County who goes under Spotted Horse Provisions.
Spotted, what is it?
Spotted Horse
Spotted horse. Okay.
Oh,
Provisions.
I know her. I love her jam.
Yeah. So we make that for her, or we make it with her
Mm.
in Bridgeton. So she's just actually opening up a retail store in Medford too.
Amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. Oh, she's incredible. Yeah, she's really.
Phenomenal chef. She's got a great, I mean, she actually displayed with us at the Fancy Food Show, Specialty Food Show in New York City last year. I think she's coming back again this year. We host a incubator village section where we have our clients showcase their products at the show at a greatly reduced price comparatively to them having to buy a booth for $5,000 or $6,000 they can play at the show with us for probably, including membership, about $1,100 for the 4-day show.
What is that show?
It's in June. So there's two shows. The Specialty Food Association has a show coming up in San Diego on the West Coast. We'll be there for that as well, but most of our clients are not from the West Coast. Um, the summer show is their big show. That is a huge food show. It's probably one of the biggest in the world, at the Javits Center, and I believe it's towards the end of June. Probably the weekend before the 4th of July, I think, somewhere
That's
around there.
where you have a booth and your clients can participate.
Yep. So there's actually a whole uh, startup section of the show that highlights early stage companies. And we're one of several food innovation centers that displays our clients there. So you'll see places like Cornell and Commonwealth Kitchen and
Mm-hmm.
Oregon State is usually there. Um, there's a couple incubators that display there too. But we typically show up with, in New York, we have between 5 and 10 clients, depending on who we're working with and what stage they're in.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting.
It's again, it's unlike a co-packer, we want to see these brands succeed. So
Yeah.
we help bring them along and say, okay, now you need to come to the show and you're going to present to the same buyers and brokers that walk by the, $50,000 booths. As a matter of fact, a lot of the brokers and buyers specifically come to see the new startups. They want the new brands that are coming into market because that gives them a competitive edge in the marketplace. And if it's locally grown, to your point, um, that's an advantage as well.
Can you say more about that grant you were talking about earlier? And are you aware of any like NJEDA or other like state funding available for? I'm looking at a bill in our bill tracker. I just closed it. Hold on. I just had our bill tracker open. We have a food and ag food system bill tracker.
Mhm.
And I just had it open. And there's a bill that's like it's not passed, right? It's still floating around, but it's
The
a
food
value
hub.
added product. No, a value added product loan or grant. I'm going to keyword search. Hold on. Of course, like I was just looking at it now that I want to find it.
Yeah,
See it, but
there have been a lot of those out there, and actually, Assemblyman Spearman heads up the ag. You guys know.
yep, yep,
So he was in the building a couple months ago with us, and he was proposing the Food Hub and SNAP assistance program, which we all know where that is right now.
yeah.
But he wanted to use the center to help stage for the local communities down in South Jersey. I don't know that I have the capability of doing that larger scale. He's talking about a lot of product.
Yeah, yeah, we've talked to him about that as well. He wants to have more minimally processed. Well, actually makes me think of a good question. Minimally processed, like just chopped, peeled, and taking carrots from whole carrots that you get in a CSA box or at a farmer's market and making it minimally processed for schools. Like he's interested in getting that kind of stuff. Not necessarily a jam or a sauce, but minimally processed produce, for example, into schools.
Yeah,
Um, in a way that is affordable, because there is local food for schools funding. Um, and so, and schools often have challenges. They all have challenges, public schools, with using whole
right.
product. And so Bill Spearman's thinking is like, well, could we ramp up that, frozen peas or just rinsed and bagged and flash frozen green beans so that schools can use more of that kind of stuff? Is that kind of what he was talking about, or either way, whether he was talking about it or not? Is that the kind of
Yeah,
thing that you
it,
could
it
do,
was
or?
it was minimally processed, but it was also some things that had some processing involved in it to make it more attractive for the kids to eat. Because If you guys have kids, you know that no kid loves to eat carrots by themselves, right? Unless
My kids eat it right with the stem on,
if
but
if you teach
yeah.
them that, yes. But I mean, we even have people now. I'm sure you guys have probably seen this in the supermarkets where they have these like training foods for infants, so they begin to like the taste of vegetables
Mhm.
and real good food instead of having, chicken nuggets for dinner every night. There's a brand that we helped develop called Kikoa, Kekoa, that's doing phenomenally. I think they're nationwide now, but they were very early stage, about 8 or 10 years ago. They were one of the first ones to make those little squeeze pouches
Oh, really?
with the
The,
caps.
the plastic caps. Yeah.
Yeah, because a great couple, a husband and husband team, that had just had a baby, and they just wanted to introduce spinach and eggplant and zucchini and all these different flavors to the child, and um, it just took off. And I mean, I think they're nationwide now, but they're really great people. They're willing to talk if you want to, hear their story. Um, they might have been on Shark Tank too. I'm not sure, but they did get some funding. So as far your question about the other funding, are you talking about the CSIT grant?
I just stopped looking for it, but that doesn't sound familiar. It's not one that has I'll keep looking now, but it's a value added product loan program through NJEDA, and I'll look up the number while you're talking.
Okay. Yeah, because under CSIT, which is EDA, technically,
Hmm.
I guess. I'm not sure, but they'll give you up to $40,000 to do R&D work, formula
Okay.
development.
If it's a
So,
program that already exists, then it wouldn't be the one I'm talking about because this is a new proposal.
okay, okay, yeah,
Apologies that it's taken me so long to find
yeah,
it.
no worries.
So that kind of grant could be used part of that money could go to pay your fees.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
we've had 4 or 5 of those come through.
And what
It's
agency is that? Is that EDA also?
C CSIT. Now I won't remember the acronym.
so this
Um,
one is S Senate Bill 1879. I'm putting it in the chat.
let's see if I can find it.
While you're doing that, I'll just read this one. It requires NJEDA to establish a value-added agriculture. No, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Yeah, no, value-added agricultural loan program to assist farmers in developing value-added products. That's the right one. And
Yeah,
it hasn't gone anywhere because it doesn't have an assembly bill, and it looks like it's,
Okay. So that's not
yeah.
an actual thing yet.
No, no, it's just a
Okay.
proposal. It's a piece of legislation.
yeah. So njcsit.gov is the website. It says supports innovation from researchers and entrepreneurs focused on developing technology and other solutions to address various issues in New Jersey. And then it gives all the contact information. It's called the Catalyst R&D voucher. That's the
Hmm.
program that we work with. If you click on that, it's in round 2 now. I think they're down to the last 12 or 14 grants, but you have to kind of read through it, and if it fits,
Yeah.
as with all grants, right? So CSIT is Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology.
Huh. So it's pretty broad based and but they're pretty open to
There's
a
money.
variety of ideas.
Yep.
Yeah.
And but you need to go through a university. And it doesn't have to be Rutgers. Princeton, NJIT, they all participate in it. Rowan.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Stockton, can you go through Stockton?
Um,
There's
I don't,
only choice, and you choose.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Stockton, but we're basically the one that does food and beverage development. So
Mhm.
Princeton doesn't usually grab those.
So what would be, if someone wants to pitch an idea or figure out, everything's on the website, including scheduling or putting in an inquiry.
So the application is really the first link to us, and then we'll set up a phone call and have a discussion. Craig Peck is my business development manager. He really kind of vets through the applications, and a lot of people will call up and say, I want to make my grandma's tomato sauce. I take ragu and I put basil and garlic in it. And it's like, no. So, we have to explain a lot of, the basic fundamentals of what recipe development means to a lot of people because they just don't, I mean, there really is science behind it. It's not just throwing stuff in a jar and hoping it's going to work. And a lot of people, especially nowadays, they think that they can use fresh ingredients. And you can't. You have to have a kill step, a heat step, where you're killing the pathogens or bacteria that might be in those fresh products. And of course, we all know we cook at home, right? When you chop fresh garlic, it tastes different than when you put it in water in a jar and heat it and do all those things to it. But from a safety perspective, that's a requirement. It has to be pasteurized or heated in some way to kill whatever might be in there.
Could you speak? I mean, it seems like you guys have seen a lot of new categories that are popping up. Could you speak to like trends that you're seeing right now, or kind of what products really excite you? What's coming next?
Um, I have to say, probably the most important thing, the way I term it is food as medicine.
Hmm.
Um, that's really going to be the trend that's going to stick because we've all seen the fat trends, low fat, no fat, no carb, low carbs, all of those trends. This one is designed to better your health and create not just longevity, but the
Disease
ability to
prevention and that kind of stuff even too.
exactly and help you actually. It's not how long you live, it's how well you live, right? That's the terminology that they're using now. So higher proteins, less fat, less but healthy fat, like avocado toast, right? Who knew avocado toast would be such a phenomenon? But it's a healthy fat. So if you have a handful of almonds every day, that's a good fat that that you should have. I just had some bars this morning. Someone sent in some samples of I guess it's not a meal replacement. It's a meal supplement that is made from natural ingredients, cashews, dates, seeds, things like that. And it was delicious. It really tasted good. It looked like garbage because it was looked like a piece of Play-Doh. But when you read the ingredients and how clean the label is and the nutritional value you get from that, it's like, okay, I can get away with it not looking like a Snickers bar. It's going to look like, some flattened piece of fruit leather or something like that. But that's really where we see a lot of inquiries. It's that nutritional, the gut health,
Mm.
huge, right? People are
Mhm.
concerned with that. Um, a lot of Rutgers professors, as a matter of fact, are doing some really great research on gut health and gut bio for helping solve a lot of problems for a lot of people.
Mhm.
Very cool. So, how does one get a job as a taste tester at Innovation
I don't know that I would necessarily want. Yeah.
volunteer role, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that works is my team and I, the five tasters that we have, go through the initial 1,400 items and we narrow it down to the top three.
Wow.
And then Specialty Food Association, the organization itself that runs the show, sends down a dozen celebrity tasters. And that could be, folks from Food Network, it could be some chefs, it could be the buyer from Italy, the buyer from Whole Foods or Sprouts Markets, and they pick the ultimate final top winner in each of the 25 categories.
So it's like Shark Tank in your office.
Exactly. Um, Unfortunately, they don't get paid, but at the end of the day, we get in, of the 1,500 samples, there's multiple samples that are sent in, everybody goes home with a goodie bag, and that goodie bag has probably got a couple $100 worth of cheese and crackers and jams and jellies and oils and caviar, things like that.
Yeah, that seems like a cool gig.
It
Sounds like
is.
fun.
So you know you've made it when you're a chef.
Yeah, very cool.
Does
Did
anyone else have any questions? Katya, Kyle, I don't know if Kyle's still here. Jonathan?
I know you've welcomed people to come and see the facility. How does that work?
You let me know when you want to come down for a tour, and we'll make sure that we're available. We typically produce on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So you can actually see the lines running, the bottling line running on best shot is on those days. As we get closer to the holidays, the schedule changes a little bit because it just does. Um, but if you want to come down and just take a tour of the facility, you let me know how many people are coming, what time you'll be there, and we'll make sure that we give you a really good half
Yeah.
hour tour of the facility.
Think over
And I may have missed this, but have there been any specific examples of a grant-funded project that you've done with nonprofits and farmers?
Um, so grant from like EDA grant, like rural
Some sort
development.
of collaborative food research science, USDA kind of. I'm just curious if you ever like partnered or done any type of grant-funded collaborations.
We've received grant money from USDA rural development on several
Mhm.
occasions.
Mhm.
Sorry? Oh, I thought you said something.
Oh, no,
Um,
no, no. I was just taking note.
oh yeah. I mean, EDA is probably the one that we've worked hand in hand. Choose New Jersey, New Jersey Ignite, where we do rent abatement for clients that come in for a long-term agreement.
Hmm.
Um,
Cool.
farmers are a little bit different, as you know, in
Yes.
a different position than the guys who are developing brands to sell in retail markets and food service. We had a guy, Shalom Daniel. He started out, it was called Mush Foods. It's now called 50 Cut, and it's a mycelium mushroom root based product that he grows, harvests, and roasts and turns into an additive to be added to a regular protein. So 50 cut, 50% of hamburger meat, you put in his product and you mix it together and you form this hybrid, I guess we'll call it, product that's a grown, farm grown product. And nutritionally, it's better for you because it has less of the fat from the hamburger, but it also retains more of the moisture and the nutrients from the meat because the mushroom acts like a sponge. Most mushrooms are like sponges, and he fine tunes the different types of mushrooms to a specific type of protein. So, lion's mane, porcini, portobello, cremini. He fine tunes, the chicken protein to a particular flavor profile combination of those mycelium roots and mushrooms and creates this product. If you guys know Pat LaFrida, it's a big meat purveyor up in New York City, North Jersey. He actually uses his product now in his hamburger blends to make it more gourmet.
that's
So what percentage, you said something earlier that like what percentage, and maybe you can't answer in percentages, but just generally speaking, of like the partners that you're working with or clients that you're working with are farmers versus entrepreneurs who
entrepreneurs. Yeah.
are,
So,
research and development folks.
so
Or I
I can
guess
give
you're the
you the
research.
numbers, and my mental math isn't the best right now, but we've worked in some way or capacity with about 3,500 clients.
Mhm.
Of
Wow.
that 3,500 so far to date, I'm going to say probably a small amount, maybe 100 to 150 have been farmers.
Okay.
I think what we're interested in looking at, or at least I am, and I've mentioned this to you when we spoke the other day, that getting a group of farmers who have an interest in spending some time on developing some South Jersey branded products, deciding what things we'd like to pursue, and kind of come to you as a group
Hmm.
with the expectation that um, we'll develop some things that that we share in common
Hmm.
and can brand either, you know, as both South Jersey and this particular farm to sell at their farm,
Hmm.
or with just a single brand for retail sales and try to get some of that South Jersey identity going.
Yeah, we welcome that opportunity. I mean, we certainly have the ability to dice, chop, puree, pretty much any vegetable, and then to turn it into whatever that product is that you guys are looking for. Maybe it's a soup or um, you
Yeah, so we
know,
got to see what people want to do.
right,
I've
right.
also I just recently kind of getting into the alcohol-free uh, mixers and drinks,
Hmm.
and trying out a variety of them, just on the theory that I'm constantly reminded that alcohol is bad for you. And some of them are
Depends what
quite
kind
good.
of bourbon you're drinking, Carlson.
Hmm?
Depends what kind of bourbon you're drinking.
Right now, I have Angel's Envy, I think, in the cabinet.
There you go. There's nothing wrong with that.
But I think that's a whole area too that could have a local interest, just like locally produced spirits are now kind of a thing.
Hmm.
I think Melanie has her hand up. She's not being assertive though.
Just, just, just to let you know, we do a couple of non-alcoholic brands. We do
Yeah.
foolproof mixers. That's Michael Larkin, and he's just launching into TJ Maxx,
Oh yeah.
Marshall's TJ Maxx group. He just sent some product there, and Stephanie Bricken has a brand called Seraphim, Seraphim. She actually won top category at the specialty food show
Wow.
a couple of years ago, and it's a non-alcoholic wine that is not made from. Does she have? Wait, does she have juice in there? She has some juice in there, but there's two flavors, cacao and her original. Really beautiful ruby red color, looks like wine, drinks like a good cab or
Oh,
low. But pricey. I mean, she's selling it for 25 to $30 in specialty stores.
oh, they're all really expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She's based in Spring Lake, so she sells it in some of the stores up near where she is,
Hmm.
up towards New York. But we'd love to do the non-alcoholic products.
Yeah.
We're really good at that. Um, Look up the Seraphim
Yeah.
bottle. The label and the bottle are beautiful. She did a really great job. She's a marketing person. She actually used to be a clothing designer for, is it Tracy Adams? Is that the designer? I don't
Would not
remember.
know. You're
But
asking farm local food
yeah,
people.
but she was like a big deal clothing designer back in the day.
Melanie, do you still have a question?
Yes. I have a few. What was the name of that show that you said uh that those people go to that you table at and then you invite vendors to in New York?
Specialty Food Association, and it's called the Fancy Food Show sometimes if you look it up that way. Let me see if I can find it for you.
And then the other two questions I had were involving like pasta and potentially dairy. So have you done any work with dairy and how does that sort of work?
So you can, if you type in Fancy Food Show, it'll come up Specialty Food Association. and
Hmm.
tell you about the shows there. The one that's coming up sooner is in California. It's called the Winter Fancy Fair, and that's going to be in San Diego, California.
Can't pick a
And,
better place than that.
and then the summer show is in New York City.
Okay.
Um,
Go to the San Diego one, Mel. No,
We could go together.
we'll be there. You let us know.
I'll just
Um,
bring an empty stomach.
um, dairy products we have worked with. We don't have any pasteurization capabilities for dairy.
Mm.
Um, so it's a little tougher for us. So like yogurt-based products, we really don't do a lot with. If it's a refrigerated product or frozen product, we can work with those small scale. So recipe development, our two food scientists are pretty good at working with different types of products, some of which we don't have any automation for. But if it's recipe development or ingredient sourcing, that's the kind of work that we really can help with. Pasta, we have an extruder at our food science building in
Mm.
New Brunswick. We don't have one in Bridgeton. So if you
Mm.
wanted to run some sort of a specialty kind of pasta through there, we could arrange that with the two professors up there that run the extrusion capability.
And would they help you develop a recipe that would be shelf stable with egg in it, or would you have to stick to water? Because I know the cottage law only allows you to do it with water, um, but I know that they make egg pasta, so there's got to be a way to do it.
Right. Well, I'm not a food scientist, but I'm guessing that there's some sort of powdered egg or some egg flavoring that you could potentially use if that's what you're looking for.
I think it would be more like trying to take the eggs from the farm is what the goal would be is into my goal would be to create like a Jersey fresh pasta with Jersey grown wheat and Jersey grown egg. If yeah.
Okay. Um, and again, I'm not the food scientist, so my understanding is that there's some sort of thermal process in extrusion that
Hmm.
that might pasteurize or somehow inactivate the pathogens that might be in the pasta. But again, I'd have to connect you with the professors who know extrusion. Those are the guys that can answer that question.
Cool.
I'm happy to
Thank
do
you.
that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah.
That would be Dr. Carway,
Okay.
K-A-R Carway, W-A-Y. And he's a professor at Rutgers. He's basically in charge of the extrusion lab there. He can answer those questions and give you at least the right answers if he thinks it can be done. Right now, he's doing experiment work with millet seed, I guess it is.
Hmm.
So he's making a millet pasta.
Cool.
I also know the guys at
River Valley.
no, there's a guy who makes pasta in Philly. He has his own.
Oh, the Pasta Lab. Is that what they're called?
Mm, no, I can't remember his name now. Really nice guy. But he just built his own like pasta manufacturing plant.
Wow.
Those small feet.
I don't know if he'd be interested in working with small volumes or again, if it's an egg product, I don't know if he has that capability. I can connect you with him if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just shoot me an email, I'll just forward it to him
Awesome.
when I remember his name.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, if there aren't any other
Thanks,
questions,
Nolan. It was really helpful.
yeah, this
Really
has been
good.
really helpful. And you
Thank
kept
you.
us on schedule.
Awesome.
Well, Rachel helped with that too.
Yeah,
So,
and again, I'm happy to give tours, and if there's anything else that myself or my team can do please reach out. This is really part of our mission statement. So this is what we do day to day.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure
Well,
we're going
this
to
is,
be having more conversation.
yeah, I was gonna say this is an intro to it, but later on could be, or could be more than a year from now, but eventually we'll have something together that's a little more tangible and actionable for us to talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah. My pleasure.
Okay, great.
Right. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Nolan.
Thanks.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.